So I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I enjoy your radio dramas, and so I'm super excited to have you on.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. And so for the first part, can you please introduce yourself a little bit for those who don't know who you are?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Elliott Brotherhood. I am a voice actor, sound designer, producer of radio drama and some film.
That's awesome. And so before you get into that, we get into your radio side of stuff. I want to talk a little bit about your career as a performer. And so you studied at a few places like the First Stage Academy and the Milwaukee Professional Training Institute. And so how did these experiences help you become a better performer?
Yeah, dang, wow, you did your research. Uh, yeah, no, First Stage was really great. I had been doing a lot of their summer academy classes since I was a little kid, but I did their training program through high school called the First Stage Young Company, where we did all sorts of stuff from, we did Viewpoints work, Meisner, Brecht, all the, BFA
Yeah.
theater stuff, and then also got to do full-scale productions of shows ranging from, Shakespeare to contemporary. We did, in my time there, we did production of Animal Farm, and we did Henry Five. I got to be Henry Five, which was really cool, and all that. And then the Milwaukee Refs Professional Training Institute was also a high school program, but it was more geared towards like master classes and finding you know learning about the different aspects of not only maintaining like being an artist and honing your craft, but also living as an artist and taking care of yourself and like things from we would have one master class one day that was like writing master class or a workshop on writing, and we'd have or dance or stuff like that, and then we'd also have people come in and be like, here's how you financially sustain yourself as an actor if you go through a time when you don't have work, or here's what you do when you file your taxes or stuff like that. So sort of life skills and stage skills, as it were.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, along with being a actor on stage and on screen, you also do voice acting. And so, how did you find your passion for voice acting, and how did you realize that you could do voice acting?
Yeah, yeah. So my first voiceover gig that I did, I believe I did when I was about 12. It was in a show called The Brinkman Adventures, uh, which was yeah, that was before the time of like I guess like mainstream podcasting, so it came out on CDs. And I loved the medium. It's so efficient, but there's such a cool uh energy in a room when you're doing something and putting it together kind of on the fly. A lot of the time it's done in a day. Uh and it's really cool to be able to kind of get together with people and make something that is super high quality, that really can be done with fairly minimal uh resources. Really, mostly what you need is microphones, a quiet space and some audio editing software, and you can make something really cool. So that's kind of where it started for me. And a couple years ago, I kind of started doing it as pretty much my main gig, and now I do radio dramas and cartoons and stuff like that all over the place.
Yeah, that's good. And so, speaking of voice acting, you are the founder of Secret Handshake Productions. And so, how did that come along, and what made you want to start this production company?
Yeah, so I'd been kind of, my brother and I, my brother, older brother John, we've always kind of been minded towards being producers in a lot of ways. We had at one point talked about starting a theater company when we were younger, and it was kind of like it's a more difficult thing to break into. It takes a lot more time and resources. And my older brother has a film production company in Milwaukee called Red Dinosaur, which we've and we like worked together a lot. But I had been sort of doing voice acting for a while, and I was trying my hand more at audio production and audio engineering and editing and such. And I kind of got to a point where I was like, you know what, I think that I have the resources at this point. I'd accrued the equipment and the setup to try my hand at producing a bunch of audio content myself. And I kind of just did. I jumped in with both feet. We did our first season, we did 4 shows, and yeah, we kind of just it kind of just picked up from there, and we've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, for sure. And so you've done a bunch of productions with Secret Handshake Productions. And so is there any of them that stand out to you as like your favorite that you've done? Because like for me personally, one of my favorites that you guys have done is like Tales of Darkness and Dread. It's such a like so well done and
Yeah,
so it's super cool.
thank
So
you.
is any of them that like stand out for you?
Yeah, so our favorite, my favorite, and the favorite of a lot of people who listen is the show we've done called Mordred. It's our Arthurian legend piece. It's about Mordred, the son of King Arthur, and how he and Arthur kind of clash and ultimately kills Arthur, and they kill each
Yeah.
other basically. Uh, that was a really fun one. I love doing fantasy stuff, and it lends itself so well to audio, and we've kind of discovered that there's kind of a lot of people that like that those sort of worlds in an audio format, so we kind of are expanding that. So Mordred for sure is my favorite. I am also a fan of the show that we're doing right now called Merlin and Arthur, which is the prequel, which is super fun and sort of high fantasy, where Mordred was a bit more of political drama, I guess. But yeah, those are the two favorites. Anything fantasy, but for sure Tales of Dread and Darkness. It was so much fun to put that one together, especially this season.
Yeah, and that actually leads into my next question with Merlin and Arthur. What made you want to write this one? Because this is your most recent one. So, what made you want to write that and delve more into that side of the classical and fantasy type?
Yeah. So last year when we did our second season, when we had been talking about what shows we wanted to do, before we had decided on Mordred, the idea of Merlin and Arthur was the first one that came to mind because we wanted to. There was a time when Secret Handshake was definitely being uh, sort of I guess geared more towards younger audiences. So we liked the idea of Merlin and Arthur because it was like, good for younger audiences. We ended up going with Mordred instead, which was really great. But I am just such a huge fan of like high fantasy and stuff like that. And the sort of world that you put, like when you put young Arthur in there with Merlin and that time in which he was teaching him and educating him, there's a lot of really great opportunities to do some really fun, just fantasy, turning into animals, running around, having adventure, magic, and mystery, and all that. So that was definitely the main thing that inspired me. I'm a huge fan of stuff like The Legend of Zelda and
Yeah.
all that. So it was definitely like I was like I have to do this.
Yeah, that's great. And so, along with voice work and performing on stage, you have done a few types of film. And so, what's the difference for you personally as a performer from acting on stage and acting on screen?
Actually, oh yeah, yeah, that's a great question. So, there is a huge difference between because when you're on stage, you have to think about if you're whether you're in front of an audience of 500 people or 2,000 people, you have to play to the back of the house, and you have to make everything just not exaggerated is kind of the wrong word for it, but you have to make sure you send it so that it plays for the people who are on in every part of the theater. Whereas film is so small, and everything about your performance has to be internal. Whereas theater, it has to be external, except for moments where you can pull back like that. Film has to be so pulled in, and you have to remember. And this has been something that as because I was trained in theater long before I did film. Uh, Going into film, it was difficult to remember, as weird as it may sound, that the camera is literally inches from your face
Yeah.
sometimes. So they're seeing every little idiosyncrasy that you're doing with your face. And even though it may not feel like it to you, sometimes you may do something that seems so blown out of proportion when you're putting it on film. So you have to pull it in and make it all internal and do it really, really small to tell that story. But it's just a different form of the craft.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it's also done out of sequence. You do things sort of anachronistically. So sometimes it's there's this sort of instant action of you have to get right into a scene, and it might be this super big dramatic scene, and then the next one you do might be a totally different thing. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so, when you were younger, what got you into theater, and what made you quote unquote get bit by the bug?
Oh, that's such a great question. My younger brother, my older brother and I, my older brother John, and my younger brother as well. Uh, we were totally into all the Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff as kids. Uh, I think the first one that we watched was the Donny Osmond Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor
Yeah.
Dreamcoat. That was like my brother and I were all over that. That and Cats. Cats was a big one for us too. Uh, going to my brother and I went to Toys R Us once together, and we were allowed to pick anything we wanted, and we chose the VHS of Cats. And that I think is really where we got the bug. We've always loved that. There's nothing like theater, you know. As much as I love film and audio production, when something's happening right in front of you and it's happening in real time and you're going on that journey with the actors on stage, there's nothing like it. And that's definitely I think where we got the bug from was seeing those filmed versions.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. And so, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Wow, that you came out swinging with that one. Uh, don't be afraid to take your time with these things because it takes time to hone the craft of making art and you're never really done.
Yeah.
There are times when I think about my younger self like when I was like 10, 11, 12, but like I could even say a year ago, 6 months ago, like just know like there's never a point when you're going to feel like you've got it all figured out. And if you do, you definitely don't.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to just take your time, enjoy the ride, and be present with where you're at on your journey of figuring your way through the creation of art, whether it's acting or, design or whatever.
Yeah, for
And
sure. And so,
yeah.
sorry,
I'm
good.
sorry, yeah.
Oh,
No, you're good.
and so this next question kind of ties into the last one, but what advice would you give to younger performers who want to pursue acting as a profession?
Uh be consistent and don't give up. Those are the two that come to mind, and I think it's as simple as that. You sometimes there are times in this industry where things happen and you can be out of the game for a little bit. And that's fine as long as you are continuing to do what you can to keep honing the craft, be consistent, keep doing what you can, not only to, continue to stretch the muscles that you need to stay with it and stay, fit as it were in terms of your understanding of the art, but also, you know, don't get discouraged, don't give up, and more than anything, know how to take care of yourself for sure as well. That's the practically that's the big thing. Always know how to take care of yourself because nothing's ever guaranteed. But be consistent and don't give up. It's a wonderful thing to be an artist. So
Yeah, for sure. So that actually wraps up the interview today. Thank you for joining me.
yeah, of course, yeah. Thanks for doing this. This is fun.